Hi, so this will be a small introduction to Stitchfiddle. I'll go over some basic features and how I use it to create my crochet graphs. In a future video, I'll go over how I review graphs and make sure to keep stitches connected, but I just wanted to give y'all the basics first. So the first thing you do when you log into Stitchfiddle, and I just wanted to mention that I do have a premium account, so I have some extra features and I may mention those features. I can't honestly remember which ones are premium and which ones aren't. So if there are features you see and you don't have access to them, then you'll have to pay for the premium account. But the first thing you do when you log in is you'll see all your charts. I have mine blocked here just because I don't want everyone to see everything I have in progress. But the thing that you need to see is the Create New, which is in the top left. So if I click that plus one, it'll tell me to choose my craft. I'm going to choose crochet. For a graph, you'll want to do crochet with colors. They've added this yarn thing. You can choose it and then it lists the colors, so it'll pull those for you. So you'll have a swatch, but I always do no preference just because I don't care enough, honestly. Then we'll want to start with an empty chart. You'll notice from picture, I don't really recommend doing this because it gives really messy graphs initially, and it's just too hard to rework something rather than starting from scratch. So empty chart, and then you'll see my grid size and gauge. So you'll want to do a gauge if you've never worked with the yarn that you're using or the hook, just so that you know the size that your piece will turn out. I have made so many graphs and tapestries at this point that I really know what size my things will be just based on the columns and rows I've used, just because I've probably made something that size before. I think a good starting size is a 40 by 40 because you're able to capture some amount of detail but not be limited or have it be too big, because honestly it's very easy to go big until you actually start crocheting and then you're like, why did I do this? So I'm putting in 40 by 40 because I want it to be square. And I will say that it will not be square unless you use single crochet. If you use half double crochet or something, it's going to keep getting taller and more stretched. So just keep that in mind. Okay, so after you hit Create New, it'll open this graph, which is 40 by 40. You'll see the right side on the right and the wrong side on the left. And you'll also notice that it's populated with all of these colors. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those just because I know that I don't want to use them. I like to trim it down just to white and then add the colors as I see fit. For this, I'm going to be making a ginkgo leaf just because I've been seeing them around me, and I sketched this thing up that I'll put here, and I'm going to be working off that sketch to create this little pattern. I wanted to keep it really simple for this, so that's what we're doing. So to add a color, you just click +1, and then it pulls this open. I think I'm going to make my ginkgo leaves green, so I'm just going to go with this green because I know I have that yarn. And I'm going to try and match it to the yarn I'm using. So there's that. And then I'll click Add, and now you have that color. Something to note is that this color to the left, so white, that is the background color, the default one. So let's say I fill this here, I select it and I go to move it. It's going to just show white now. But going back to white. Okay, now I'll start to get into the actual tools. So what I like to do and how I approach drawing things in Stitchfiddle, I just like to get the general blobs in there. And then you can 2-finger tap or right click, and then it pulls up this drop down menu. So you can work with white, edit the color if you need, paste something if you've copied it, clear the area that you've selected, and then you can fill it with a color, which is what I'm about to do. And then there are a bunch of other features that I can get into later, but I think they're a little self-explanatory. So fill with that, and then when I'm filling things in, all you do is you press down and you hold, and that's how I'm drawing. So I'm going to get rid of that. But I'm gonna start out with shapes like this. I'm not in love. I think I might have went too big. So I'm gonna trim it down. Grabbing that white. And cutting that off. And if you need to move your piece around, so this being my piece, if I need to move it around, I can select this square thing. And when you hover on it, it says select. You click that, and then you can just click and drag to select the area. So now I'm gonna move just that area. I think I wanna move it down and to the right maybe. That's good. Another thing you can do is, once again, select that, copy it, and then to paste, so wherever my bounding area was in the top left, that's where it's going to paste from, if that makes sense. Or that's the location it'll paste from. So if I click here, you can't see it because I'm using white, but if I click here, and then I do Command V or Control V, it'll paste it here. You can also right click and click paste. You can hit apply, select that again, and then mirror it horizontally. And yeah, that's how you mirror things in case you want something to be the exact same on the other side. Then I'm going to move this down. I want them to like feed into each other a little. And then I'm going to center them. And I notice now, like this, there's 4 on this side and 5 on this. So I'm going to go ahead, click the column number, and it'll highlight it, and then delete column. I'm also feeling like there might be too many rows at the bottom, but I'm going to finish fleshing out these leaves real quick. And I want to crop this. I think I want 4 all around it, or 4 rows, I mean. Oops, I guess I need to add a row back in. So I'm gonna, or a column. So I'm gonna add 1 column to the right. And then if you want to crop something, just select the area you do want. So I know I want 4 above. So 1, 2, 3, 4, which is right here. 4 over, which I have. 4 on the left, I mean. I need 4 below the lowest point, so there, and then I bring it to the edge, and then select crop, and now it's cropped. I think that I need to visually align this though, so I'm going to move this down because I feel like the weight is very high. Yeah, but I think that this is it. So those are kind of the basics. Another thing, once you actually start like crocheting, there's this progress tracker feature. So you click this GPS looking thing up here, and then it highlights the row that you're working on. And the numbers here indicate which way to read it. So if the number's on the right, you read right to left, numbers on the left, read left to right, and so on. Check out my other video if you want to know more about reading a graph, but yeah, this is a really handy feature. And another handy thing is if you go, so click this color palette, it'll pull up the colors, and then you add in an abbreviation and the description of the color and save that. You can then go to View, Show Written Instructions, and then alongside that progress tracker, it'll show you how many stitches, so you don't need to like count or something. And I find that really handy. If you are a graph type of person, so you just want to rely on the graph, you can also do Edit, Chart Settings, Grid and Size, and then go to High Contrast. And this just makes the lines easier to see, and you can see that it's like the darker lines are in segments of 5. That just really helps in counting, at least for me. So the last thing I wanted to note is that I am always iterating on my graphs. I do not really just finish as quick as I just did. So in true iterative fashion, I did go back and edit it a little bit more, just to fan it out a bit. So here's the graph I actually used, and here's what I made with it. If you want, I linked the graph below, and you can go and crochet this too if you want. But yeah, I hope all of this helped. Stay tuned for my next video to learn a little bit more about crochet graphs. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them below or DM me on Instagram. All the links will be below. Thank you for watching.